Can you believe it? Star Wars. What some of you call now A New Hope, but we call it Star Wars, is 45 years ago. And it might seem shocking to most of you to watch my channel, but I like Star Wars. I've seen it a couple of times and I fell in love with it 45 years ago. As you can see, right? So I figured I would take this time out just to talk about Star Wars. And when I say Star Wars, I mean 1977 cut of Star Wars A New Hope. I'm not talking any special edition. I'm not talking about any Greedo shooting first. I'm talking about plain old Star Wars. Now, when it was released in 1977, of course, it probably didn't play in my hometown in May 25th because they only played in selected markets in the big major markets like New York and LA. So it was probably the summertime before I got around to seeing it. And to be honest with you, I was 4. I didn't turn 5 until September. So me actually have memories of going to see Star Wars at the theater for the very first time. I don't have them, sadly, I don't. But I do remember going to see the original cut of Star Wars when they re-released it around probably 78, 79. I think it was before Empire. You know, they released it a couple other times. I think in 82 they also released it. But it seemed like about every year they would re-release it. And I can remember some of those early things, but it's kind of confusing what year it was. And I know I say the original cut, but Lucas is always tinkering with it. As you can tell, I did a video about Empire Strikes Back, how he changed something from the premiere to the major release. He changed some things. So let's stick with Star Wars, though, since it's the anniversary, May 25th, 1977. What the hardcore Star Wars fans will say is Star Wars Day. And so I thought I would talk about my memories of this life-changing event. Now, I know people say, hey, it's just a movie. Get over it. Why are you so obsessed with a movie? It's just a movie. Well, I've said it before and I'll say it again. Star Wars isn't just a movie. I mean, what other movie are we still talking about 45 years later that we're still dissecting, that we're still getting online and arguing with other fans about it? I'm sure there's some movies that are still loved and still liked, but how many movies are 45 years old or older that you can walk into almost any store right now and buy something related to it? I mean, there might be a handful. Wizard of Oz maybe, but that's still not as popular today as it was, as it was. I gotta sneeze real quick. I hope it's not the monkeypox. Hold on. Okay. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. So, what was I saying? Anyway, Star Wars is popular, and I'm saying Star Wars is more than just a movie. It's in my DNA. Like many of you, we are who we are because we saw Star Wars. Even if you didn't see it in 77, you saw it in the 80s and 90s. Maybe you didn't see it until the 2000s. Maybe you were a kid then, and it changed you. It made you who you are. I mean, it's a lot more than just saying it's a movie, at least to us hardcore fans. Because we wouldn't be who we are. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing today, probably. Our lives would be totally different if we didn't fall in love with this movie or we didn't see it at all. So, I just don't want to talk about some of my early memories of Star Wars. And this is probably the earliest memories I have. In fact, hold on just a second here. Because I actually have it. Hold on. I'll edit this out so you don't see my big ass. This is it. This is the actual book. This is the book. This is probably the oldest Star Wars memory I have. This and a folder that my brother had. It would take to school to have, I think, Luke Skywalker on it and some other things. But I can remember this book here. And no, I didn't read it. But I do remember getting older, still not reading. I'm a little older where I could read better. I still don't read too good today. Reading the Obi-Wan Vader fight. Reading the whole cantina scene. You know how he cut down the bad guys in the canteen? Obi-Wan sliced Walrus Man, or the other guy, one of them, straight down. And it's according to the book, he peeled. They cut him like that. Gruesome. Why wasn't that in the movie? But I can remember having this book, and I don't think this wasn't like the original book, the hardback and everything. It came out first, but remember we had this book. One of the first things I can remember owning as a book. My brother probably bought it, or somebody bought it for him, I should say. And I can remember looking at these pictures, being in awe, and I would just stare at these pictures. We didn't have Netflix. We didn't have the internet. I couldn't just pull up pictures of Luke Skywalker. Look at him in his land speeder. And the one I remember the most is this one right here, because as a little boy, 4, 5, 6, I would just stare at this all the time and look at it. And I can remember we had the dewback as a kid, but I can remember actually not remembering this in the movie. This was my memory of a dewback until, Star Wars came on video. I could watch it again. I was like, I don't remember that scene, because that scene, at least that shot there, wasn't in the movie. But I can remember just studying that and thinking how real it looks. It just blew me away how cool it looked. And then you have some that told you about the droids and everything. I used to look at that. The Falcon, I can remember staring at this photo here, the Falcon, looking at every little detail I could, looking at the background. I would always look, first my eye would look at the heroes and everything it's supposed to, and then I would find myself looking in the background and looking at all the detail, and all the detail was amazing. Star Wars might be the most analyzed movie ever made. You had another one here, now I remember later, right at the same time, we had this Death Star playset. And I can remember looking at this book and seeing this part here on the Death Star playset. And be like, that's it. That's on my toy. Well, I guess my brother's toy, but it was our toy, I should say. And then I remember this one of the Tusken Raider just being like, what is that thing? Is it a mask? Is it an alien? I didn't know what it was. And Jawa, wondering what's under the hood. I remember staring at this one too. And, of course, a classic. This was on my Star Wars lunchbox as a kid. I had a Star Wars lunchbox, and it had to be 78, 79. It had to be before Empire, because I had an Empire lunchbox. I wouldn't have had a Star Wars lunchbox after Empire. And then you have the heroes all getting there also. But I remember this book, just being a kid, laying in my room, and just looking at the pictures in this book. And this is the actual book, too. I didn't go back and rebuy this and everything. This is the actual book. I laid in my bed as a kid, probably 5 or 6, between 77 and 80, and just laying in the bed, looking at these photos. I couldn't even read. I was just looking at these photos. Now, I did also have the Star Wars Marvel comics, and they helped out a lot also reading that. And one thing that's really burned in my mind, I don't know what magazine it was. It's probably Fangora or something, because it was my brother's magazine. I think it was before he started buying Starlog. It was an ad in there, and I'll try to find it and throw it up on the corner so you can see it. It was an ad showing the new Star Wars figures coming out, Series 2, Greedo, Snaggletooth, Hammerhead, and all of them, and just staring at this ad in my room also. And by then, we probably had some of the toys already, or all of the original 12 by then, and Land Speeder, Death Star, some of the toys. I can remember looking at this, and I was like, that's how you saw new toys back then. You went to a toy store and saw new toys, or you got lucky and saw them in an ad, or maybe the little catalog that came with the toys or something. But you would stare at it, and you're like, what is this? Greedo. Now, I knew Greedo when I saw him in the toy form. I knew who that was, but Hammerhead, because I couldn't just play it back in my head. Like I said, we didn't have it on video and everything. I can remember when we started getting Star Wars on video, watching that movie almost in slow motion. Me and my brother would watch the cantina scene in slow motion so we can kick every little thing in the background. It was awesome. But I can remember laying there looking at that ad, and hopefully I can find that and throw it up too. I've got an ad over here, but that's more Empire, and I can remember that in the comic books also. But one of my earliest memories, and I'm trying to write down all my memories before I forget them in a book form and release it. I've been working on that since the beginning of this year. I don't know if anybody cares to get it or not, but either way, I wanted to put them out there. It's all about growing up Star Wars. But and I talk about my earliest memory of Star Wars is not actually seeing Star Wars, although I do go into the first time seeing the Star Wars figures at a Zayre's, me and my brother going to Zayre's to see it. But my earliest memories before that is not seeing Star Wars, it's playing Star Wars. It's more like photos in my head. I don't remember the storyline we did, but I can remember being outside at my house, hiding behind a tree. I can remember my brother was like a stormtrooper or maybe Vader, and I can remember, pew, 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 with my gun. I don't even think I had the Kenner gun at that time. I can remember that, and I can remember us kind of around that same time, we would have those tubes that Christmas wrapping paper came in. We would use them as lightsabers. You hit 2 or 3 times, they come unraveled, but then you got some nunchucks. But anyway, I can remember just them little scenes, which I can tell, I know in my memory, because of the house we were in, and about the age of the memory, is that they were for Empire. Because, by the time Empire came out, I was, 72, 8, and I got more of a memory of Empire, and I got a lot of memory of Return of the Jedi when it came out, because I was 10 then. So I know these earlier members have to be Star Wars related. And I don't know if this is interesting to some of you guys, but I figure it's the 45th anniversary of the original Star Wars, 1977. So I had to talk about it in this video. But like I said, I can remember seeing the movie. It was probably a 70. It might have been 77. We probably saw it a bunch of times, to be honest with you. Probably went to see it a bunch of times. But I wish I had a memory of being in line, standing in line. I can remember going to see Empire a little bit. Jedi, I can remember like yesterday standing in line to see Return of the Jedi. Star Wars, like I said, is a little different because of my age. But I know when I saw it, it changed my world. Because there's nothing... If you were growing up watching movies before Star Wars, what did I go see at the movies before that? Herbie the Love Bug. I want to see crap like that. One of the earliest movies I do remember going to see, and I don't know if it was before Star Wars, right at the same time, was my family taking me to see Amityville Horror. I don't know. I had to be like 5 years old. I don't know why they took me to see that. I remember being terrified of the flies on the window. I don't know why they took me to see that. That had to be pretty... Just thinking about that Amityville Horror. Hadn't seen it since then. It just scarred me for life, man. So I do have some memories of seeing some earlier movies around that same time. But if you go see Herbie the Love Bug or the Apple Dumpling Gang or some crazy junk like that, then you go see Star Wars, you can see where it changed your mind. Sure, I saw science fiction at home. I saw Planet of the Apes on TV when it would come on. But Star Wars was unlike anything a kid ever seen. And there's one thing about, people talk about the new Marvel movies and the new DC movies, and I just can't get in awe with them. I think because it just doesn't make me wonder anymore. Now everything's computerized, CGI, and I see a special effects in a Marvel movie. I see the Hulk turn green and throw a car. I know somebody just did it on their computer, typed in some codes on their computer and did it. But when I went to see Star Wars, the ship flying over, you're like, how did they do that? And again, we didn't have the internet then, but I can remember anytime there was a show on Nickelodeon called Lights, Camera, Action, hosted by Leonard Nimoy, and they would show some of the model making. Every time there was a new Star Wars movie, one of the networks would run a making of, and I can remember, I think it was Ben Burt showed how he did the sounds to the laser guns, where he took a wrench and hit these metal wires that come off telephone poles. And it would make that sound. And I can remember, it blew my mind. And I can remember outside my house, we had a pole with those wires running down. And I would go out there and I would hit it with that pole. I'd probably surprised somebody from the state didn't come in and arrest me. But I would hit it with that pole trying to make that sound. Very rarely did I get a good pew, like a laser sound, but every once in a while I would hit it just right. And I'd be like, whoa, did you hear that? And I look around, and of course, nobody's there, because nobody wants to hang out with a 6-year-old banging a wrench on an electrical cord. But it was awesome. And, everything, my world was Star Wars. At least probably still today, right? I mean, I probably think, I think about Star Wars every day still, 45 years later. Crazy, isn't it? But now it's because I'm doing the YouTube and everything. But probably between 77 and at least 83, I was Star Wars bound. I mean, every time I got on my bicycle, I can remember we had a big hill by my house that came down, and right near the bottom of that hill, in the middle of the road, was a manhole cover. Yeah, I talked about this before. You probably know about my love for manholes. But I had a manhole cover, and I would come down that hill like I was Luke Skywalker in his X-Ring, holding on to the handlebars. And I can remember, okay, I make a Luke Skywalker. I turned off my tracking computer. I'm going to shoot down the Death Star. That manhole cover was the exhaust port. And I would time myself. Okay, once I hit the button and go, pew, I got 10 seconds. If my front tire is on that manhole cover at 10, I blew up the Death Star. So I would come down there, I would coast because it was on a big hill. And I would time it, think I was just right. Just boom, and it's away. And I would count 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes I kind of cheat, to be honest. Probably count a little faster, a little slower. But if my front tire wasn't on that manhole, if it was past it or not to it yet, I would say, impact it on the surface. And I would have to go around the block. Oh, I wasn't about to ride up that hill. It was a big hill. I wasn't riding up the hill. I'd rather go around the block. That way you get to the top of the hill while I'm going up a big hill. And I would try it again. Pew, it's away! And I'll say to myself, stay on target, stay on target. You got to say that. And I can remember man, even with Jedi, I know we were supposed to talk Star Wars. Jedi would be in the woods riding the bicycle again, thinking I was on a speeder bike. Whew, didn't you hate when you hit spider webs? Spider webs. Spider webs in the woods. I don't know if you guys played in the woods or rode your bike in the woods. It was a lot of fun, that's for sure. But again, I've talked about it before too, is going to Zayre's. Me and my brother heard that Zayre's had Star Wars toys, and we went there. I can still remember that in my head, and that had to be around 78 because this was still Series 1. It's burned in my head, something that young of a memory is Star Wars. It wasn't on the end cap of the aisle. By the time you turn on the action figure aisle, there they were. A 4-foot section. Star Wars Kenner figures. Most likely 12 back cars. And I can remember which one I got and all that, but I've talked about that before. Anyway, today's the day. 45 years ago today, Star Wars premiered. And we all know the date, May 25th, 1977. It's a day that will live in history, that's for sure. And then on May 25th, 1983, we got Return of the Jedi. So it is the Return of the Jedi anniversary also. But I just wanted to put this out there. This video is going to come up at 7 instead of 8 because we're going to do a Star Wars call-in show at 8 o'clock live on the main channel, not over on the live channel. So if you're seeing this before 8 o'clock on May 25th, join us back here to call in and talk Star Wars. Now, I rambled long enough. This is where I want you to go to the comment section. I want you to go to the comment section and ramble also. I want to hear about the first time you saw Star Wars. Maybe it wasn't until it was on video in the 80s. Maybe it wasn't until the 90s. Maybe it wasn't until the special edition. Maybe it's a month ago. Let me know what made you fall in love with Star Wars. And it may not even been A New Hope, aka 1977 Star Wars. Maybe you didn't fall in Star Wars until maybe you saw the Clone War cartoon or something. Let me know that and more in the comments below. And until the next video, we'll talk again.
Hey, Junkman channel popping though.
Thank you, sir, for that unsolicited testimony.